All right, everyone, let's go ahead and get started. It is 1 minute after 1, and if I am nothing, I try to be on time. Okay, first, my name is Kelly Crucy. I'm the Community Engagement Manager here at the State Broadband Office with the Arizona Commerce Authority. We'll do some quick introductions, and then we'll get into housekeeping, and then we will get started. So for introductions, uh, I introduced myself. We've also got Jason. Jason is with ready.net. He's going to give us a demonstration of the portal. And then we are also supported by Divya and Keely, whose names you see on the screen. They're here to help answer any questions that come up. And Jason, did you have anything you wanted to add?
Nothing to add. Thanks,
Okay.
Kel.
Yeah, I thought I saw a hand raise. Okay. So, as we get started, a couple things. First, would love to have introductions from those who are joining us today. You can put that into the chat, your name and the organization that you're representing today. And when I say organization, I'm talking about the applicant organization. So, name and organization in the chat, that would be great. And then after that, we will focus only on the Q&A portion. So there is the chat, there's also the Q&A. So if you take your mouse and hover over your Zoom screen, you'll see at the bottom with all the options, you'll see a Q&A box. And there you can type in your questions. You can also upvote any other questions and add comments as well. So you can see everything that's happening in that Q&A box. We're going to cover a lot of material today regarding the application and scoring and the portal. So as those questions come up, just plug them into that chat or the Q&A box, I should say. I am facilitating on my own, so I will try to pause and take a look at the Q&A. I'll also check the chat just in case something is there, but we're trying to document it all in the Q&A. All right, that said, let's go ahead and dive in here. All right, so quickly we'll start with a quick overview and timeline of BEAD in the state of Arizona, with where we are and what's to come. We'll then do the portal application demo with Jason, and then I'll go into the details and overview of the application and the project information. Again, questions, you can input those as they come up, and I'll try to pause after every slide, make sure I'm getting to those questions, and then we'll have time at the end for those questions as well. Okay. All right, so we will start off first with the BEAD program overview. And quickly before I do that, just a reminder, if you can, it'd be great, put your name into the chat. Let us know who's here. We really appreciate that. Okay, so quickly, the BEAD program overview. Everyone is familiar, but Arizona was awarded $993 million for the BEAD program here in our beautiful state. And this funding is to provide service to the unserved and underserved BSLs and the community anchor institutions in Arizona. Um, the unserved locations have a speed below 25 by 3, and the underserved have speeds lower than 100 by 20. The CAIs include the libraries, hospitals, higher education institutions, schools, and also includes the state and local government facilities as well. And then your eligible project area criteria. So as you're moving forward with your application, you will be working, selecting your project areas, and applicants will have to include every unserved and underserved BSL within the project area. And then also adding the CAIs to that will give you a higher score. And then partnerships are encouraged. So if you are working with an applicant organization and you are partnering with another, there needs to be one lead applicant who's responsible for the project execution. Thanks for those introductions in the chat. I definitely appreciate that. All right, so the selection process. Here's a high-level overview. You may remember that we started market sounding last fall, late fall or early fall. That was launched in September 23rd of 2024, and went all the way through I think till the beginning of November of 2024. And then before, I think market sounding ended on November 7th, and Pre-registration started on November 4th, and pre-registration has been open since then. If you have applied, if you, for instance, submitted an application in round one, that means your pre-registration was approved. And if you have not completed that pre-registration, please do that as soon as possible. The round two window does open June 3rd. We want to make sure that everybody's got the full 30 days to focus on that application. So if you have not completed that pre-registration, you'll definitely want to do that in the next week or two. Then with project applications, round one and round two, we had round one that opened on January 6th, closed on March 7th. We are still rounding out those negotiations and sending out preliminary awards at this point in time. And again, round two is set to open on June 3rd. So our timeline here, so I kind of went through this on the previous slide, but right now where we are is we're about to launch that round two on June 3rd. As I said before, we're still rounding out those negotiations, preliminary awards, and every applicant will get a status update via email before the June 3rd round two opens. So you will be notified of the status of your application by the time we open on June 3rd. So definitely pay attention to your email at that point in time. Application window will be open for 30 days, and then once that closes, we will start reviewing and evaluating all of those applications. All right, so before we get into the details of the application, Jason's going to take us through a walkthrough of that portal and what it looks like and what you can expect. Go ahead, Jason.
Thank you, Kelly. I'm sending a request to be able to share my screen.
Got it.
All right. All right, am I sharing a screen of the demo application portal?
Yes, I see it says home.
Great.
Okay.
That's the page. Okay, thank you, everybody. So here's a quick overview of the BEAD application portal for Arizona. Once we open round two submissions, when you log back in, you will still have access to your homepage if you've already been participating in previous rounds, or if this is your first application, you'll still see an experience very, very similar to this. Your homepage is really your home base for status and an overview of the status of your pre-registration application, your organization profile that can be filled out as your time permits, but also access to your BEAD applications, which we're here to demo today. Real quickly, I'll just make a comment that there is this feature here, your teammates. So if you would like to, you can send an invitation to any of your colleagues to participate as collaborators on your account. You simply enter their name and email and send that invitation. The person with access to that email will get full read and write access to your application. So do be aware of that. They are a full collaborator. They have all the permissions that you have. All right, so moving on to creating a BEAD application. You can get to that area either here from BEAD applications, this view button, or in the left-hand side under apply for BEAD applications. This is your application dashboard. It has any and all of your applications accounted for here, whether are works in progress or fully submitted with any level of status. You can get an update from this list here, this dashboard. As your applications pile up, there is the opportunity to build different filters to navigate and shorten this list if that turns out to be a convenience to you. Some applicants do end up with a longer list, and that feature does come in handy. or you can simply type in a keyword that's in your project name and jump right to that application. So starting an application, use this button here, start new application, and give your application a descriptive name. It's good practice to include the project area in the name. It just helps everybody keep the context of exactly where in the state that the application is proposing to provide service. So the first step in the application flow is to select locations. The manner in which you select locations in the state of Arizona is by predefined project areas. And so you'll see here on the map that we have a number of project areas visible. By zooming in a bit, you'll begin to expose other project areas throughout the state. A very convenient way to select your project areas to simply navigate to the part of the state that you're interested in and select the project area. Doing so, you'll notice that the details have populated over here on the right-hand side. And so you get a little bit of overview information about the project area, the total number of eligible locations, and the reference price as determined by the state of Arizona, just to give you a little bit of context of the state's opinion of the relative cost of providing service to this area. There are other ways that you can select your project area. If you happen to know the ID, you can enter its name in the list, or select it from this drop-down. And in that case, the map will zoom you to that area, and then you click on the project area and make the selections. There are some other features here. If you're interested, you can filter the locations in the project area to learn a bit more about any particular locations and get a little bit of metadata about the locations, the fabric ID, any unit level or location classification data is also available from the map by hovering over here. But let's proceed to the next step, which is really just a review location, export. And what the system has done here is that it's just taken all of the locations, the eligible locations within that project area's boundary, and has provided you a list of all the locations. You can review these, but the next step is either you can go back and select a different project area from this button or proceed to the next step. Now, in the next step is related to community anchor institutions. And the portal has then listed out the locations that are designated as community anchor institutions within this project area. The state policy, there's a number of different categories or parts to an application. Some of those options allow you to selectively opt out of providing service to CAIs. And if you intend to participate in that option to exclude CAIs from your proposal, you can do so by clicking them on the map here, and that action removes them from your list of proposed locations. The next step is really to finalize that list of locations. Oops. And click Save. And move on to the next step. And now you'll see we've advanced to really step 2 of the application process. Now, what we're looking at here is really just a digital representation of the application that you all have probably familiarized yourself with in document form that's been published by Arizona Commerce Authority. And you'll see really just a digital version of those documents here. Across the top are each of the major sections, which you can hop back and forth to. And you'll find every section, or most sections, will have subsections here. So you can see that within network design, we've got the subsection of high-level network design, HLD, and another subsection related to any outlier locations. The form is really pretty straightforward. You'll see radio buttons. You'll also see some type of conditional questions. And what happens there is if you answer one way or another on a previous question, you may be asked for the appropriate contextual follow-up information, like this example here. So do look out for those. If you answer yes, the requirements then expand to providing additional information here, describing what makes the locations you identify as outliers, and an additional narrative. So you'll see that behavior in a number of places throughout the application. When you complete a section or subsection, you can use any of these buttons to advance. Or again, you can go in a non-linear fashion and hop around to the different sections within the application. Clicking any of these links to move about the application will save your work. So anytime you click back or next, your work is being saved. The same is true of these links up here. So if you wanted to go to project timeline and finish this section and answer all of the required fields, we'll notice that we get the green check mark as soon as the minimum requirements for that section have been met. You'll be able to tell the required versus optional fields by the presence of this red asterisk here. So if you see the red asterisk, that means that is a required field, and you will not get the completed green check mark status until those requirements have been met. And then it's just a matter of working through the application. There are fields like this example here, which is a multi-select, where we're asking for, the types of managed lands that are within the scope of your proposal. You can see here that I can add or subtract multiple options. Text fields are pretty self-explanatory. And the other pretty common field type you'll encounter are an upload. Let's see if we can find one here. I know we'll have one. So in network design, for an example, we'll be asking for your HLD documentation, other related document types. The description will always let you know what types of files are valid and acceptable as far as the portal and the office's policies are concerned. And so, but you will not run into any restrictions in terms of file size, technically, but from just a common sense sort of performance perspective, it does make sense to, compress files where appropriate or break them into, smaller files if it makes sense for your proposal, just to avoid creating, unnecessarily large files to be uploaded and downloaded about. But there is no technical limitation on the portal side in terms of file size. You can add attachments by either just clicking this and finding them on your hard drive and uploading from a local file, or dragging and dropping more than one or more files into this rectangular target here. And that also acts as an attach. So that's really essentially it, aside from, of course, the attention that's required to go get through these sections, provide the requested and required information. As you progress there, you can leave your work at any given time. Any of your colleagues who you have invited to participate as collaborators have the same opportunity to jump around to sections that they are best suited to provide information for. And at the conclusion of that, you will come to a point where you have green checks everywhere throughout the application here. And when you come to the review and submit page, what you encounter is really a summary view of everything. If any field a requirement has not been met, oftentimes this can be a convenient way to just scroll through the entirety of the application and look for any of these "this is required" field, and that could give you a shortcut to any missed information. This submit application button will remain deactivated until all of those requirements are met. And so if you find yourself at the end of the application process and unable to submit, the first step would be just make sure that there's no required fields still left unanswered, and that should enable the opportunity to submit. At any time, you can export a PDF of your application. This download will update as your application progresses through both your submitted and just work in progress revisions. So you can keep a copy for your own records, share with internal stakeholders, whatever the case might be. The same is true for the list of locations. You'll receive some basic location level metadata for all of the locations that are associated with your application. Do be aware, however, that these documents and exports, they will change as your potentially if you change your locations over time, or if you update your application. Just be mindful of that fact, that if you're keeping records locally, make sure you grab the most contemporary version of those documents, because they do and they will change over time as you and your team make edits. Okay, the last topic I thought would be good to acknowledge while we're here is the concept of revision requests, or requests for change, RFCs. It's quite common that the state may have a question or need additional information or require an edit or modification to your application after you've submitted it. Should that need arise, you will receive an email letting you know that your application requires some attention and there's a request for revision in the portal waiting for you. You'll be able to tell which applications require your attention from this needs a revision status. And you can find out where there is a field or fields that require your attention by looking for these orange, alert icons up here, like this example in project area information. So if I go over to this section, I'll find a revision note using the same orange color to give you a heads up that this is the field that requires a revision. You make those revisions and then you can proceed to review and submit. And that submission fulfills the requirement. I'll also point out that when you do get a request for a revision, you will only be able to edit the fields that have been requested for a modification. So just be aware of that. Any other field, while working with an application that is in a needs revision status, none of the other fields will be editable. So expect that. These will all be read-only except for the spots that the state has requested for a modification. And then again, we'll notice that I can proceed to review and submit the revised application. You will be asked to recertify. And now you're back. That revision has been made, and now you'll see that our test application is now back into the status of in review and has been advanced. It's back to the state's to-do list. Well, that's a general overview. I'll be happy to take any questions that might have come up.
Okay, I'm excited. There are 3 questions that have come up, not necessarily portal related, but we'll start with the first one. This is from Teresa Ferguson at NRTC. Hi, Teresa. What are the major differences between the application portal for round 1 versus 2? And I know there are some differences that we'll get into when we talk about the application from round 1. But Jason, are there any specific that you can highlight in the portal?
It will be, so I do know that the state is actively considering some methods for simplifying the digital application. So do look for that. There may be some sections that are going to rely more specifically on just an uploaded workbook rather than keying in all of the different fields into the portal itself. So that is a difference, although it won't be really disruptive or confusing. If anything, it's going to simplify the process quite a bit. The other difference is that when we are in the business of selecting our locations, any locations that have already been preliminarily selected in round 1 will be removed from eligibility. So there will be differences in the eligible location counts in certain project areas if all or parts of those project areas have been awarded in the previous round. But that is essentially it from the portal perspective. Those are the only significant differences that you'll encounter in round 2.
Okay, thanks, Jason. Next question, AJ from WeLink has a couple. Hi, EJ. First one, is there a way for potential applicants who have not pre-qualified yet to view reference prices? And Divya or Nick can correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe you can only see the reference prices and price detailed information once your pre-registration is approved. And then you have access to the full application and you can see everything there, but you've got to get your pre-registration approved. Is that
Yes,
correct, Divya?
yes, that is correct.
Okay. And then AJ also asks, any updates on a timeline for when project areas open to round 2 applications will be announced? Let me make sure I'm understanding. Updates on timeline for when project areas open. Oh, I see. Okay. So the timeline, so round 2 applications open June 3rd, and the timeline for when you will be able to see what areas are left from round 1. So for instance, all the areas that were picked up in round 1, when you get into the application portal on it, June 3rd is when you will see everything. So that's the official date. We will have a public map shortly before June 3rd that will show what areas are available for round 2. That will be shortly before June 3rd. We're not sure of a date yet, but the full application project areas and BSLs that are remaining from round 1 will be in that portal with all of the cost details as well on June 3rd. All right, another question. Have the reference prices changed from round 1 to round 2? And that is a question I will
Yeah,
ask Divya.
yes, I can take that. So whatever project areas did not receive an application will remain the same, but there will be a reallocation of locations and further definement of the project areas in round 2. So the final reference prices will be available once the round 2 portal is open.
Thank you. And then Divya or Nick might have to chime in on this next one. Kevin Shives from Yavapai Apache Nation. Hi, Kevin. Thanks for joining us. Our tribe is in Camp Verde, is comprised of multiple land mass. We are checkerboarded. Will that one location under this app process, or will we have to do multiple applications for each portion of our land? And I believe it is just one application, even though it is checkerboarded, but I see Divya is ready to dive in.
Yes, so project areas that will be defined for round 2. For each project area, you will have to submit only one project application. So even if you have adjacent areas, which are 2 different project areas, you'll have to submit 2 different applications.
Thank you. Okay, so Jason, I'm going to steal the screen back from you. Thank you for the demonstration. I did put into the chat. Oh, and I see that there's another question there. But if you look in the chat, I did put the AZ help desk at ready.net. That is where you can send your portal related questions, like technical questions for the portal. You can send to there. Also, you can just send everything to broadband@azcommerce.com, and we will make sure that your questions, if they are portal related, get to the right people. And then Sherry asks a question. So round 1 applications can be reviewed and resubmitted in round 2. And Divya, I'll take your help on that one.
Yes.
In the chat from Sherry.
I don't see the question.
So not in the Q&A, but in the chat. And she says,
Okay.
round 1 applications can be reviewed and resubmitted in round 2, question mark.
So there are few applications that will be moved to round 2, and the applicants will be communicated on that. So and they will be evaluated with the other applications that will be received in round 2. But if the applicant wants to edit or update their application, they will have to submit the request to ACA for consideration.
All right, thank you. All right, let me just adjust my screen settings before we move on so I can see all the chats and Q&A. All right, so thanks again to Jason. Now we'll move into the project application. First thing that I want to note again is that pre-registration, I did put a link in the chat. If you scroll back up, you can see the link for the website that has the pre-registration information. Pre-registration is required. It's a mandatory step to complete before you can get to the application. And again, really want to emphasize completing that before June 3rd, as soon as possible, well in advance of June 3rd, so that the Commerce Authority has time to review that pre-registration and come back to you with any questions that we might have, so that you can have that all settled and out of the way. But again, to get access to that application, you have to have that approval. Also want to note that each project area, as Divya mentioned earlier, each project area requires its own individual project application, and applications are scored independently. And a reminder that all the applications are assessed on criteria that are outlined in the BEAD NOFO, and also in our initial proposal volume 2. In fact, our scoring rubric is in there as well. And we'll touch on the scoring in this session today. Okay, for technology type, again, this is where I think the biggest differences are going to be from round 1. So if you applied in round 1, please pay attention to this and use the guidance that will be up on our website by end of day today for round 2. This is where your biggest differences are going to be. So take a look at this. Again, the goal here is in round 2 to collect everything and serve everything that was not picked up in round 1. So we're looking for universal coverage here, and the goal of round 2 is collecting every remaining BSL and CAI. Okay, so here's what it will look like. You've got 3 parts of your application, and this is also different in the portal this time. So part A1, A2, part B, this is part of the financial workbook, and that is an Excel document, and this will be in the portal, and you will submit your answers only in that workbook. You don't have to also submit them in the portal. So just in that workbook. And you can see here part A1 is 100% fiber, and that includes the CAIs. So the goal here of part A1 is 100% coverage in the project area. Part A2, 100% fiber as well, includes the CAIs, and then you've got 2 options. So this is new and different from round 1. The 2 options here. First, either you're excluding the identified outliers from part A2, or the other option is you can propose identified outliers with the alternative and reliable technologies under part B. So again, this is a bit different from round 1. Here you've got some different options because our goal is to include every single BSL. Then that part B is fiber, reliable, and alternative technologies. Option 1, you've got 2 options here. Option 1 is 100% BSLs in the project area with mixed technology solutions, fiber, reliable solutions, or alternative technologies. Or option 2 is proposing select BSLs that you would serve with mixed technology and excluding identified outliers or high cost locations. And then outliers here, we've got them defined for part A2. This is where an outlier is, it costs more than 1.5 times the average cost to serve the rest of the BSLs in that project area. So you would identify those locations as outliers. For part B, applicants can define and identify the outliers and high cost location area locations that they plan to exclude from their application under part B. All right. So moving on here, your project application, this is kind of a high level overview. These are all the sections that you will see in that project application. So there are 18 sections, and you'll provide individual project area specific information separately under each application. And then for sections 4, 10, 12, and 15, you'll provide each proposed technology type per project area. And then note that section 17, the cybersecurity compliance and the supply chain risk management compliance, this was addressed in pre-registration. And if you didn't provide full details and plans there, you will be required to supply that here in the application itself. All right, so moving on to applicant information and project executive summary. So first, note at the top of these slides, and this deck I think is available on our website now. If not, it will be by the end of the day. And you can click on the hyperlinks there where it says questionnaire and application guide, and that will link you to the questionnaire and the section guide, and it gives you the sections where you can find the specific information and all the details for it. So that the guide and the questionnaire have much more detailed information. The deck is high level. I recommend and really emphasize reading the application guide. It provides a lot of information. Definitely read through that to have a better understanding before the application window opens. So for applicant information, here we're asking applicants to provide details about the organization, as well as details on your consortium, partnership entities, and sometimes you're providing a narrative of these details as well. And the narrative here will explain your organization structure, the role and relationship and significance of the partnership entities. You'll demonstrate the expertise and how you have working capital to successfully complete the project. For that project executive summary, here applicants are going to provide a high-level summary of these 4 bullet points on the screen. So you're going to provide high-level details about the BEAD eligible locations that will be served, the proposed technology, including that percent breakdown, the timeline and delivery approach, and your budget summary and the match request. All right, then additionally, we're asking for details on the technology solutions that are proposed for each project area. All right, so 1.3, the project areas. Our final project areas were posted on our website that were approved after the challenge process by NTIA. Those were posted in December, this past December. So that information is available there. As a reminder, again, as you're going through this, you need a separate application for each project area. The portal will have a drop down of the proposed project areas, not proposed, but of the project areas. And when you click on a project area, that's when you'll see that cost estimation. And again, you can only get to this information after that pre-registration has been approved. And that will also include the subsidy and reference price information for each area. All right, so on this screen here, you can see we've got the project areas on the left side, and then there's a screenshot of the portal, which Jason was just walking us through, where you can see on the screen where it's got financial information there. So all the details and information are inside that application portal. All right, I'm keeping an eye on questions. If you've got any, feel free to put them into that Q&A. Section 1.4, the project infrastructure. Here, applicants will provide details as a part of the workbook in the portal. So this isn't going into the portal directly. This will be a part of that workbook, which you can find in the portal. We will also have that on our website as well. So in the first section 1.4.1 project type, you can see the either priority or non-priority broadband projects. And here, the priority offer the high quality broadband services that meet specific performance thresholds based on the BEAD NOFO. You'll also provide services via end-to-end fiber facilities to reach all end users. For non-priority, it's all other last mile deployment projects within a minimum speed of 100 by 20. Applicants have the option to select either technology for priority and non-priority, and fiber again is preferred. And then section 1.4.2, the infrastructure and technology. Here you'll provide total miles of conduit, miles of fiber, total number of towers to be built, and you'll provide more details here in the workbook itself, and more details to explain behind this. You'll find that in the application guide. Section 1.4.3, the technology and performance. Starting off with the priority, you'll provide the technology using the FCC code and the split ratio for deployment. If the same split ratio cannot be used across deployment, you'll need to provide reasons for that. And in the non-priority, projects, you'll provide the technology using the FCC code, as well as the max download upload speeds per sector, the number of subscribers, and if you're providing wireless, you'll need to provide the spectrum bands. Okay, 1.5, open access network, and 1.6, network design. So in this first box up at the top with the blue number 1, here this is the open access network, and you will need to confirm if your organization intends to offer an open access network. If yes, you'll provide the narrative about that policy. And again, more details on that in that application guide. And then that second box there for the network design. Your design needs to show that you are delivering broadband service that meets or exceeds the performance requirements for all the locations in your project area. Your design has to be certified by a PE. That professional engineer has to certify that during the application process. If they're not licensed in Arizona, you'll need to indicate that, and you'll indicate that you'll be using the BEAD waiver for the PE certification. And again, outliers here identified as costing 1.5 times more than the average cost of the rest of the BSLs. And here we've got that for Part A2 and Part B. So under Part B, the applicants can define and identify the outliers and the high cost locations that would be excluded from the application, if that's applicable. Scalability and resiliency. All right, so here we've got 3 sections at the top under the scalability and resiliency. Applicants first are required to provide details regarding that scalability and resilience of the network for each project area. And then explain how the proposed network design guarantees the scalability to accommodate the connectivity needs of the project area over the network's entire lifespan, and outline the organization's strategy for retrofitting or hardening the current broadband infrastructure to resist damage and degradation. All right, Teresa, I see your question, and we'll get to that at the end of the slide. Network outages. So here you'll need to confirm that measures will be taken to ensure that outages don't exceed on average 48 hours over any year-long period. So 365 days, except in the case of force majeure or natural disasters. And here you'll also describe the network design and the measures that the organization is planning to address any outages that might happen. And then climate assessment. This speaks to the plan for the organization on how to handle these instances, and also the plans on how to mitigate them. All right, so Teresa's question, is an agreement to provide an open access network a requirement of the program or a scoring element in round 2? Go ahead.
Yes, it is a part of scoring element. It is 10 points. It's 0 or 10. If you say yes, you'll be given 10 points. If no, you'll be provided 0 points for that category. So yes, it's a part of scoring element.
Got it. Thank you. All right, so here we're going to take a look at NEPA, NHPA, Make Ready, and the timeline. So NEPA and NHPA. So here we're looking for compliance to both. Applicants have to provide a high-level description of the site, the project area site, and the surrounding area, and any natural, man-made, geographic, physical, or factors that can pose a risk to the development of the project. And I can see Kevin's got another question. I'll get to that at the end of this slide, unless Divya beats me to the answer as far as typing. Okay, so your NEPA, your NEPA, and your NHPA, you'll provide the plans on how the project will incorporate any factors that can pose a risk. You'll provide detailed plans on how the project will be implemented, outlining your approach to stay compliant. And here you're staying compliant with SHPA, NEPA, and NHPA. And then additionally, you'll recommend feasible plans to minimize adverse environmental and historical preservation impacts. For the make ready, here you'll describe the make ready activities that are already completed and those that are planned. And then your timeline. Here you'll provide a narrative of the key milestones and the time needed between execution of the grant and the delivery of service. And then there's a template provided in this section where applicants can fill in the details for Part A or Part B, and applicants will confirm the project will be completed within 4 years of the grant agreement. All right, so Kevin's question here, thank you for the question. Is it frowned upon to have a resilient network like a 2-ring fiber design?
We'll have to get back on that answer, but if it's type of technology that you define in the application, it will be scored according to that.
Okay, thanks, Divya. All right, section 1.11, barrier and permitting requirements. So here there are 4 sections in this first top one, the permits and critical crossings. And here you'll need to identify any known critical crossings or permits related to the project. And that would include state of Arizona, federal government, tribal nations, and local government managed lands. So here you'll provide a description of those crossings and permits related to the project and any steps or plans that the organization is undertaking with regard to the permitting processes for those areas. And then the barrier identification. Here applicants need to identify potential obstacles or challenges associated with the project, and it includes but not limited to description of concerns or issues related to critical crossings, a narrative of supply chain issues, and a plan to overcome them, and the narrative on any workforce related issues that could potentially delay the project. And of course, the plan to overcome them. Okay, project financials. So we'll start here on the left side in the blue, the letter of credit. And per the BEAD NOFO, all applicants have to provide a letter of credit prior to signing a grant agreement. If you're not opting for a bank letter of credit, there are some other options. You can choose from one of the following that's listed there, the letter of credit from a credit union, and that's for no less than 25% of the subaward amount. You could also obtain a performance bond instead of a letter of credit. And the performance bond, just make note that a performance bond is for 100% of that subaward with a letter from the acceptable surety. And again, that's prior to signing of the agreement. And then the other option is you can provide a letter of credit or performance bond for 10% of the subaward. That letter of credit would be from a bank or a surety letter from an acceptable surety for issuing that 10% performance bond. And then on the right side, for the project match and the match funding details, this is in the workbook only. So this section is workbook only in the portal. And you'll provide a summary of the project cost and the match details. So that project cost and the grant amount requested, the total match amount, and the total match percentage. That's the information you'll be providing in that workbook. And then underneath there in the light blue, we've got the matching waiver request. So if an applicant is applying for a match waiver, you would need to describe the special circumstances to support that waiver. And then you also have to document the efforts that were made to obtain the matching funds and how the waiver would serve both the public interest and advance the goals of the BEAD program. All right, more on project financials here. So again, both of these, we've got the right side and the left side, both of these are in the workbook only. And on the left side, we've got the project financial workbook. Here's where you will upload financials And you'll see a full list here on the screen. And you'll provide a narrative to describe the assumptions using the pro forma and provide any related analyses to establish the project's sustainability. On the right side, you've got the project cost estimation for each application. Again, each project area is its own application. And here for A1, you've got the fiber-based deployment. A2, well, A1 is 100% fiber. And here you'll provide the average cost to serve each location using the fiber for all the unserved and underserved BSLs, the average cost per location for the CAIs using fiber technology, and the total cost to serve that project area. Part A2 is 100% fiber, excluding outliers. So here you'll provide that average cost using the fiber technology for the unserved and underserved BSLs, and the average cost per location per proposed CAI using that fiber, and the average cost to serve the outliers, and the total cost to serve the project area. And then part B is for the fiber, reliable, and alternative technologies. You'll do the average cost to serve per location for the proposed select fiber only BSLs and CAIs, and the average cost for the select BSLs for the reliable and alternative technology. Also, if applicable, the list of outliers and high cost locations, and again, that total cost to serve the project area. All right. This slide, section 1.13 is project workforce. So this section is based on the BEAD NOFO requirements and our initial proposal volume 2. This slide in particular discusses the requirements for applicants to demonstrate their commitment to developing a skilled and diverse workforce, ensuring adherence to labor laws, and prioritizing local hires and fair labor practices. And the second slide here is a continuation that includes the labor peace agreements and the appropriately skilled workforce, credentialed workforce, misclassification of workers, unionized workforce, the workforce plan, and the project continuity plan. Section 1.14, local support and community engagement. This slide emphasizes the importance of engaging with local and tribal governments for the proposed project areas. Applicants have to, in this section, provide letters of support from these entities, detailing any financial commitments, diversity initiatives, coordination efforts. Also, applicants should outline the engagement plan, including awareness campaigns, meetings, outreach materials, and community workshops. All right, section 1.15, affordability. So here, this entire slide emphasizes the importance of affordability in broadband services, and applicants must confirm their participation in broadband subsidy programs, offer at least one low-cost broadband service option, and provide pricing details for subscribers with the applicable service type for 5 years after project completion. And those price details include taxes, fees, and charges imposed by subscribers. Also, applicants must describe the approach to notifying prospective consumers about the availability of low-cost plans and federal subsidies upon the project completion. All right, slide 1.16, minority and women business-owned enterprises, as well as labor surplus firms. So this slide requires applicants, or this section requires applicants to detail plans for contracting with minority and women-owned businesses and the labor surplus area firms. This includes outreach, training programs, and monitoring success, as well as reporting and documentation. Most important. All right, 1.17, cybersecurity and supply chain risk management. Again, this was in pre-registration, and if it wasn't fully completed there, you can do that here in the application process as well. So here, applicants, you will submit your supply chain management and a cybersecurity management plan. This ensures compliance with NIST and the latest version of that framework. Plans have to be operational before the grant is awarded. Or if you are a new entity, then you have to demonstrate the readiness and the ability to operationalize that plan as soon as the grant is signed and service is provisioned. All plans have to be provided prior to signing of the subgrant. All right. So last section of the application portal is the certifications. And here it's a checkbox page. You'll go through and certify that you are submitting this information as a part of your application. All right, before we get into scoring, are there any questions before we move into the next section? All right, I'll take that as a no. As your questions come up, please put them into the Q&A. All right, there we go. There is one here from Teresa. Will round one applicants be allowed to receive the scoring they received from the round one applications prior to round two opening? That one, I would ask Nick or Divya on that. I am not sure.
The decision of the applications will be communicated to all the applicants that applied for round one.
Okay, so thank you, Divya. And then Teresa, I'm sorry if you said it, I missed it. When will the final round two application guide and all required templates be published? Teresa, I am hoping to get those today, end of day, uploaded to the website. In fact, I am committing to doing that. So today, end of day, you'll see those things. And then Divya, could you say that one more time? We didn't hear it as far as if applicants will receive the scoring from round one before round two opening.
Right. So the decision for each of the application that is evaluated in round one would be communicated to each applicant. The decision being if it was preliminary selected or if it was rejected or if it was deferred for round two, but not entirely on the scoring. It will be the decision based communication that will be communicated.
Got it. Thank you. Teresa said, my previous question was, will round one applicants be allowed to see what ISP scoring received on their applications prior to round two? So Divya did just answer that. And it sounds like scoring details are not included, but you will receive the status, the outcome. Okay. Moving on into the prioritization and the scoring process. So applicants need a minimum of 250 points to qualify for BEAD funding. And here on this first slide, we've got kind of a high-level breakdown of what that scoring looks like. There are a total of 500 points, and here we've got it broken down between priority and non-priority broadband projects. So for both priority and non-priority, we start off with the same priority or primary scoring criteria. So you've got 75% or 375 points that apply to both priority and non-priority. They get different in the secondary. So we'll start first with the primary, and here that 375 points comes from the program outlay, the affordability, and the fair labor practices. For the priority broadband projects, the secondary selection criteria is a total of 125 points. And on the priority side, we've got the speed to deployment, the technology requirements, local and tribal coordination, community anchor institutions, and that equitable workforce deployment for 25 points. For the non-priority in the secondary section, same amount of points, but different criteria. You've got the speed to deployment, the speed of the network and other capabilities, That's the one that's different than the local and tribal coordination, CAIs, and equitable workforce development and job quality. All right, so here's a question from Teresa. Please clarify, does an applicant have to submit their cyber and supply chain risk management plans with the round 2 application? Or does the applicant only have to submit their cyber and SCRM plan before execution of grant agreement?
Yes, so I can take that. The applicants have to submit their cybersecurity and CRM plans in the round 2 application. However, it's important to note that the most updated plan have to be submitted during the signing of the grant agreement.
Okay, thank you. All right, application scoring. So there are 6 slides here to get into the details of how applications are scored. So here on slide 1, there are 3 elements. And first we've got the grant to project costs. And the points here for sections A and B, these points are all or nothing. So you either get the corresponding points or you don't get those points. It's not a sliding scale. So let's do an example for section A, grant to project cost. So let's say for easy math, which I do for myself, let's say your total project cost is $100 and your match that you are proposing is $20. So that would be 20%. And that would mean that your grant to project cost, that would get you at 80%, and that would be 0 points. On the flip side, if your project cost is $100 and your match is 55% or $55, that would mean your grant to project cost is 45%, and that would get 150 points. Then for cost reasonableness, that is worth up to 50 points in that section. And the scoring is based on the overall project cost against the benchmark estimate from the cost model on the screen. We do have a one-pager that outlines cost reasonableness and reference benchmark costs on the website. That has not changed from round 1. That is on our website and that will remain there. So there are more details to explain this particular section. And then C, resiliency, that is for 50 points. And this one is scored a bit differently. This one is cumulative. So for each section here, for demonstrating your network and power source redundancies, 10 points for that. Then plus 10 points if the applicant demonstrates scalability in the network design, plus 10 points for retrofitting or hardening, plus 10 points for burying at least 75% of cables, and another 10 points to demonstrate other network resiliency measures. So that section C, is cumulative, where the others are not. All right. So slide 2 of 6, here we're looking at the affordability evaluation. And this is 75 points. And again, here it's all or nothing. So you plug in according to where you fall. So for instance, the scoring here, these are per month costs. So this is evaluating the applicant's commitment to providing that 1 gig symmetrical service with the specified project areas at an affordable price. So scoring here is to incentivize affordability, and applicants have to commit to this pricing for at least 5 years. And the costs here that you see on the screen are per month cost. And then fair labor practices, section 3 here. This is evaluating the criteria for fair labor practices in priority projects. So outlines the points awarded for various aspects of the labor practices, including compliance with federal labor and employment laws, monitoring and ensuring adherence to the laws, and the plans for wages, ensuring safety and local hiring. I think that's what I just said for this slide. So here, your technology, 35 points. We're looking at the scores here. 10 gig download, 10 gig upload, 35 points, all the way down to 1 gig symmetrical would be 5 points. And then your open access here. And so if there is open access and you provide details regarding that open access policy, that's 10 points. I think I have gone way off base. Here we go. So scoring per month, your fair labor practices evaluation, more fair labor practices evaluation based on 50 points. And then the application scoring priority projects. So I got us off track. So speed, number 4, speed to deployment evaluation. This is based on how long it takes to deploy. So if it's less than 24 months, that's a total of 10 points. If it's 48 months, that would be 0 points. And then here, that technology that I just mentioned. So your 10 gig symmetrical would be 35 points, or 1 gig symmetrical would be 5. And that open access, if you provide that open access policy, that's 10 points as well. All right, local and tribal coordination. So here, the BEAD program emphasizes that applicants coordinate with local and tribal governments to address connectivity gaps. And if you have a letter of support, that's 5 points. If those letter of support include the financial commitments or other commitments made by local or tribal governments, 5 points. Letter of support includes recognition of the coordination efforts in the community through that letter of support, that would be 5 points. And then also providing an engagement plan for that tribal or local coordination is 10 points. And then the CAIs, the evaluation. So here, this is based on how many CAIs you are including in your project area. So the highest number of CAIs in the project area would mean 20 points. And then your second highest, so there's a formula here that you can do. So if you are not serving all of the CAIs, then you would plug in your number here and use that formula to determine how many points you would get for that. All right, and then the equitable workforce, slide 6 of 6 when it comes to application scoring. So here, this is equitable workforce development and job quality, and applicants are required to present a narrative to demonstrate the dedication to making the investments to cultivate a skilled and diverse workforce. And here you can see the breakdown of that. So if plans are provided regarding the use of this appropriately skilled workforce by providing or supporting employee attainment of training, certification, licensure, that's 5 points. If details are provided about training partnerships with local providers for in-house training programs, that's 5 points, and so on and so forth. All right. And I can see a question here from Kevin. I will make sure I'll get to that. So Kevin asks, is that 10 gig from the data center provider or 10 gig fiber deployed network for each project area? I don't think we have a 10 gig provider in our area.
That's something that we'll get back to you in the FAQ.
Okay, Kevin, so we don't have the answer for that right now, but we will do 2 things. One, get that answer, send it to you via email, but also include it in the FAQs. So we will have FAQs that get updated after people ask us questions. Those are on the website in the subgrantee application section. So look for those FAQs, we'll add it there so everyone else here on the call can hear that answer as well. But Kevin, we will email that to you directly as well. So good question. All right, so the application scoring we looked at before was for priority projects. Here, these are non-priority projects. So same thing here. You're looking at 150 points for that grant to project cost, 50 points for cost reasonableness, and 50 points for that resiliency. The first 2, A and B, are the all or nothing as far as points, and section C is cumulative, so 10 points for each criteria that is met. And then the affordability page here, again, these are per month costs. So those are a bit different than the priority projects. And then the fair labor practices evaluation based on the criteria outlined here, same as what was outlined in the priority projects. Same fair labor practices here, again, ensuring that the applicant organization is following fair labor practices and compliant with those. And then the speed to deployment, same as before. So the faster you are, the more points you would receive. And then that technology here, this is a bit different than in the priority. The non-priority, you would get 35 points for that HFC 4.0, or if it was 3.1, 25 points. Wireless using licensed Spectrum 4 is 20 points, Spectrum 2 is 10, and LEOs are 5. And then 10 points again for that open access. If you are providing open access, that you are sharing the policy for that. All right, the local and travel coordination is the same as well, ensuring that if you are working on a project area with the tribes, that you are coordinating and working closely with the tribe. And same thing with counties throughout the state. We want to ensure that that local and travel coordination is happening. And again, this is derived from that BEAD NOFO. And then the CAI. So this is up to 20 points based on how many CAIs are in your project area and how many you are selecting to serve. Again, round 2, our goal here is everyone. Everything that's remaining, the goal is universal connection. And then the equitable workforce development and the job quality. So here we're talking about the training that is provided, and then union neutrality and local hiring as well. All right, that is it. We are only 2 minutes over the proposed time. Thank everybody for hanging on. And we can certainly stay on for any Q&A. This is recorded, will be posted on our website. And again, we'll update those FAQs after today's session as well. So question from Teresa. Help me understand how applications will be evaluated. If a priority project and a non-priority project both score the same, but the non-priority project requests less grant funds, would the non-priority project win in round 2?
So the preference for ACA would still be fiber-based deployment. So anything, cost will be the deciding factor. So if both of them have been scored equally, and the preference would be still be for priority project, fiber-based deployment.
Okay. Kevin has a question. Speed to deployment would be affected by available materials and also the products being BAMA. I think that might be BABA. So we will be all saying 24 months or less to get more points, but realize there might be slow available materials coming from manufacturers. Divya, are you able to shed light on that?
Yes, so the applicants, based on whatever categories are included in the application, they can select that and it will be scored based on that. If you have any additional information that you would like to provide, you can do that in the application.
Okay, so he followed that up with that would cause us to extend the deployment period. So Divya, sounds like you're asking just provide more details in the application.
Yes.
Okay.
But for now, the scoring is based on the number of months that have been included in the application. So if you fall under that category, you'll be scored according to that.
And Teresa's got a follow-up. So clarification to my previous question, would the priority project still be awarded even if the non-priority project requested less grant funds?
So on this, Teresa, so whichever grant requested is within the subsidy available range. If it's below the subsidy available range, then fiber will be given the top priority. So any application, be it priority or non-priority, they'll be compared against the reference benchmark price that's available. That's the reference price, and then it will be scored and prioritized accordingly. But for all purposes, ACA would still prioritize fiber-based deployment first and then followed by non-priority.
All right, she says, thank you. Okay, everyone. So again, if you've got questions for us, all questions go to the broadband@azcommerce.com, and we will do our best to answer those as quickly as possible. We're coming up on June 3rd, less than 2 weeks away, which is exciting, but that application window is only 30 days, so get that pre-registration done. This is recorded, will be posted to the website, and I guess we'll see you in the inbox if you've got any questions. But thank you, everyone. We thank you for your time and your questions today, and send them to us at broadband@azcommerce.com. Thanks, everyone.